Explained, the Hillsborough Law, recognises that the current state of the law is just not sufficient to make public authorities and public servants act in the public interest and tell the truth, act with candour, disclose everything, own up to what they've been doing wrong. And so what the Hillsborough Law tries to do in plain English, so everyone can understand it, first of all, it establishes a legal statutory duty for public authorities and public officials, police officers, parking attendants, all manner of public servants, to tell the truth in all their dealings with the public and each other, to act with candour so that they reply properly to inquiries from the public, for example.
Denial is systemic to any large organisations, and one of the problems I think large organisations face, especially those where its members are exposed to physical risk, is that they promote the idea of people protecting each other. So for instance, in the army, the emphasis is very much on protecting your colleagues. Then that culture spreads to not just protecting the physical safety of your colleague, but protecting your colleague when he or she does something wrong. And that's the real difficulty that we in organisations face. How do you say to someone, you protect your colleague but only up to this point, and after that your duty then is to the public, not to your colleague? And I think it's a real problem, not just for the police, for all public bodies.
The second part of the Hillsborough Law deals with public authorities and public servants in how they must assist public inquiries and public inquests and all manner of court proceedings and police investigations. So it puts a positive duty on public authorities and public officials to disclose everything, to own up to wrongdoing, to be completely transparent and upfront. That's the second part. The third part of it is enforcement, because it's all very well having a law which is aspirational and which declares what should happen, but really you need enforcement. So the next part of the draft law allows for victims, allows for parties to proceedings, those interested in proceedings or investigations, to obtain orders from courts, for example, to require disclosure, and where there aren't outstanding court proceedings, to go to the High Court and to get an order to require public authorities and public officials to do particular things. The next part of the law then creates a criminal offence of willfully misleading the public. So any public official who tells a lie, willfully tells a lie, and I'm not just talking here about some carelessness or some accidental slip of the tongue, I'm talking about here willful behaviour. So it's quite a high hurdle, but it sets an actual criminal offence. And hopefully that section of the Hillsborough Law sends a message across public authorities to public officials, not to scare them, but it just makes them sit up and think, right, well, in my dealings with the public or anyone else, then I have to be completely frank and open. And if I've done wrong, if we as an organisation have done wrong, we have to be upfront about it. And we think in drafting it in this particular way, that this actually empowers many public servants. If their organisation is acting in an institutionally defensive way, if the culture of denial that pervades public authorities in this country at the moment persists, it allows and empowers public servants to say, well, actually, I don't think we're taking the right approach there, we need to be upfront. So instead of people thinking that their job's on the line or their promotion's on the line, they will be able to say, we've got to do it a different way. And so hopefully that's what it will do. But in that small number of cases where public officials actually put their own position ahead of the truth, and they willfully mislead in a way that has happened, then there is the option of criminal charges, and we think that it is important that the law has that bite. There are other provisions within the draft law that the families are promoting. For example, where public officials or ex-public officials decline to help investigations or inquiries or court proceedings, that would then become an offence. So we think it's perfectly reasonable to require by law public officials to give an account, give a statement in a way that private individuals who might happen upon some kind of minor incident aren't required. And we think it's perfectly reasonable where someone is paid to act in the public interest that there should be a legal requirement where they're supposedly acting in the public interests to do that.